Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start off with a song that we not only appears in the Shabbat prayer book, but as I mentioned last week, also appears in the Haggadah. It's on page 270. It's one of the Hallel Psalms that you sing right before you get to the meal at the Seder, page 270. And we'll come back to this song later in the service, or at least the theme of it. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Hayta Yehuda likodsho, Yisrael mamshelotav. Hayam Ra'av Ayanos, Hayarden Yisov le'achor. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Hayta Yehuda likodsho, Yisrael mamshelotav. Hayam Ra'av Ayanos, Hayarden Yisov le'achor. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Zayt Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody who's watching online. Shabbat Shalom. I have to see you over here, but wave to you over here. And welcome to everybody who might be watching on our live stream as well. We're going to begin worship with the lighting of Shabbat candles. Skylar Cohen is going to light our candles this evening. Please turn to page 3.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehatlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Skylar. Oh, who has some simchas to share from this week? Simchas, good things that happened to you during the past week that you can relate in one sentence. Anybody have a simcha from this week besides getting a crown on the tooth? Other simchas from this past week? Sahala's daughter hosted the Seder for the first time. That's a transition in a family, isn't it? Other simchas? Oh, okay. Claire was at her daughter and son-in-law's for Seder also. Joanne? Bob?
My granddaughter is accepted to the University of California at Santa Cruz.
Great. Your granddaughter is going to UC Santa Cruz. Oh, mazel tov. Really happy to hear that.
Speaking of the next generation, I was invited to Santa
Very nice. Beth got to go to our longtime member who's moved to Modesto, Sandy's daughter's Seder down there. Rachel, right? Yeah. Yeah. Other simchas?
We no longer have a flood in the house.
Deb says they no longer have a flood in the house, which is, I guess, a simcha in its own sense. Yeah. I don't know how the water got in there.
Yeah, the shower.
Oh. Other simchas? Janice, yeah. Oh my gosh, Janice, we're so happy for you. Janice said she had the PET scan, she's clear. Mazel tov, yeah. Please turn to page 11. And at the top of page 11, you see the song Dodi Li, which you'll see in the citation is from Song of Songs. Now, what makes this a Pesach song is that, each of the 5 scrolls in the section of the Bible we call the writings, section of the Bible of the writings has 5 scrolls in them. Each of the 5 scrolls is read on one Jewish holiday. Song of Songs is read on the Shabbat during Pesach. And here's just a little bit. It's really not, Song of Songs has nothing to do with Pesach, but it does have to do with the springtime. And it's a book of love poetry, all set in the spring. Here's a little sample. I'm going to give you a few of the lines, including the line that this song has, just so you get a feel for the poetry, the beautiful poetry in Song of Songs. Look, the winter is gone. The rainy season is over. Flowers can be seen in the land. The time of singing has come. The sound of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The figs on the fig tree ripen. The flower buds of the vines give off their fragrance. My beautiful darling, arise and come away. My love is mine, and I am his, who grazes among the lilies. That's that last line, famous line that is included in this song, Ani l'dodi v'dodi li ani lo. This setting, contemporary setting by Steve Scher. 26. And I wonder if we have any 6th, 7th, or 8th graders here, Amaya, who would like to help lead us in Chatzi Kaddish along with my assistants. Page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Be'alma tivrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechot uvyomechot uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael Bagala, bagala uv'zman kariv v'imeru Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam ulol me'al maya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei d'Kudisha Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiron bi'alma v'imeru. Page 28. Yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la. Yada lie lie lie, yada lie lie lie, yada lie lie lie, yada lie lie lie. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada lie lie lie, 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 yada lie lie lie. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yada lai lai lai, 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 yada lai lai lai. You may be seated. Let's continue reading together on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim b'mishmaroteim barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla. Umavdil bein yom uvein laila Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv. The second prayer after Baruch Hu, the prayer on page 32, Ahavat Olam, means eternal love. Of course, Olam means everything, both in space and time. This is love that isn't just over time. It encompasses everything in the physical universe. Love seems to be the theme for the Shabbat during Pesach. Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, a book of love poetry. And we have a prayer that comes up every week about this all-encompassing love. And every generation writes its own love song. I just thought I would share one that just goes back a couple of decades. Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Know the dove is on the wing, though you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now, right now. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. We continue on page 37. Janice Flansbaum is going to lead us in our next prayer.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Page 40. Ahelim Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Osef Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Keeping it within the same theme, on page 43, let's read together at the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Page 45, in the middle of the page. Thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the there's a song. Joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world. Scattering song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Page 47. God's presence. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. I invite you to rise as you are able for the Amidah, page 48. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, u'mevi gula livnei v'neihem, lemad shemo bi'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham, v'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem mechalkel chayim bechesed mechaye hakol berachamim rabim somech noflim v'rofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar micha mocha bal gevurot Umido mehelach, melech meimid, umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emana talachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim v'chol yom yehalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. You may be wondering about the winter and the summer timing. You switch to the summertime prayers on the last day of Pesach. That's when you change your prayers. Simchat Torah. Yeah. Page 56. Find favor, Adonai our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamachazir Shechinato Litzion. On page 59, let's read together. I have the right page? Yes, in the middle of the page. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Page 60. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech amo Yisrael b'shalom. At this time in our worship, we ask for healing for members of our congregation and their loved ones who are ill. If you are praying for healing of body or healing of spirit for a loved one, I invite you to share that person's name out loud with our congregation. And for those of you watching online, if you would share that name in the chat so that we can also join our prayers to yours. First, in the sanctuary, as my eyes pass yours, if you're praying for healing for a loved one, please say that name out loud. Grace Carper. To those whose names we have said out loud, we add those whom we hold in our hearts. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, God, the source of healing. Let us say together, Amen. Let's join in silent prayer. You could find words for silent prayer on pages 62 and 63. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Adonai tzuri v'goali. Bones play a prominent role in the story of Passover. You know, of course, about the shank bone on the Seder plate. Then there is the story in the book of Ezekiel about the valley of dry bones. You know the story. God plops Ezekiel down into the valley of dry bones and asks him, "Can these bones come to life?" And Ezekiel replies, "Only you know, God." After which God says, "Prophesy to the bones." And as the song goes, the hip bone connected to the backbone connected to the shoulder bone. Hear the word of the Lord. Wait, you say, what do a bunch of dancing skeletons have to do with Pesach? It just so happens that this passage from Ezekiel is the Haftarah reading for Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach, that is, the Sabbath during Passover. But why this passage? Well, I learned this lesson from Rabbi Gershon Albert of Beth Jacob Synagogue in Oakland. Rabbi Albert points out a fascinating through line to the story. You see, during the Seder, we recite Hallel, as I talked about last week. And I began this evening's service with one of those Hallel Psalms, Psalm 114, which includes the following line: Hayam, Hayam, Ra'ah Vayanos, Hayarden, Yisov Le'achor. Hayam, Ra'ah, Vayanos. The sea saw and fled, or the sea saw it and fled. Implicit in the psalm is the notion that the sea would not have parted for the Israelites to escape Egypt unless it saw something. The sea saw and fled. So, what did the sea see? The Midrash on the Psalms says that it saw Moses carrying the casket of Joseph. Now, you know, the very last thing that happens at the end of the book of Genesis is that Joseph tells his family, when God remembers you, be sure to bring my bones out of this place. In other words, what he's saying is, bury me in the family plot in Israel. Don't leave me here in Egypt. Now skip forward in the story hundreds of years to the escape from Egypt. As the Israelites are leaving, what do? They plunder the Egyptians. Perhaps it is payback for the years of enslavement. Think of it as reparations. Moses, however, is otherwise engaged. The text in Exodus says, quote, Moses took with him the bones of Joseph. The Israelites may very well have been justified in collecting payment before their departure. Moses, however, is focused on a sacred obligation to retrieve Joseph's bones. It is the dedication that Moses shows to his ancestors that the sea saw, and which caused the sea to part and make way for the casket of Joseph. It's a brilliant midrash. Moses demonstrates a commitment that transcends the concerns of the moment. He is in touch with a deeper sense of duty. And it is that dedication that ultimately saves the Israelites, more than the riches that they took with them, which in turn prove ephemeral, something merely to be transformed into a golden calf. The bones represent redemption. Moses will not leave them behind. Similarly, in Ezekiel, the bones could easily be regarded as dried up, lacking in value, lacking any meaning. God tells Ezekiel, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They say, meaning the Israelites in exile, they say, our bones are dried up, our hope is lost. God then assures Ezekiel, I will lift you out of your graves, which means out of your exile, and bring you home to the land of Israel. It turns out to be a perfect parallel to the story of the Exodus. But it is not just a clever intertextual device, because the Haftarah, the placement of the Haftarah on this Shabbat, means it's directed at us, the reader. Redemption is the theme of the Seder, which we repeat every year at its conclusion next year in Jerusalem. And it is precisely this text in Ezekiel which connects the bones of our ancestors to our own hopes, our own longing for redemption. God says to Ezekiel, They say, our bones are dried up. Our hope is lost. The Hebrew for our hope is lost, ve'avda tikvatenu. Our hope is lost. Ve'avda tikvatenu, the phrase that is quoted where? In the national anthem of the state of Israel, Hatikva, with the reversal of just one word. Odlo avda tikvatenu. Our hope is not yet lost. So it's really not about the bones after all. It's really about the hope. This is what Moses brought up out of Egypt. This is what could make the sea part. This is what we mean at the end of the Seder. It's our hope, our belief in a better future, our commitment to keep walking toward that goal, no matter how long the journey. Speaking of the journey ahead, let's find out what's happening at Congregation Beth Emek in the coming weeks. Sahala David, Secretary of the Board of Directors, has our announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you very much, Rabbi Milder, for leading us in service. And thank you, Jay, the tech mensch, for live streaming this service. Our onik tonight is hosted by Debbie Strikoff in memory of Leonard Strikoff, father of Deb, Alan, and Gary Strikoff. Torah study tomorrow at 9 a.m. Passover, Seventh Day Festival and Yizkor service is on Wednesday, April 12th at 10:30 a.m. The last day of Pesach is observed with a festival morning service and a special prayer in memory of congregants and their family members who passed away in the last year. And now the important stuff, spring game night. Saturday, April 15 at 7 p.m. Join us for another game night as we celebrate Havdalah and then break out the board and card games. There will be snacks. Beth Emek Preschool now enrolling for the 2023-24 school year and for our fun summer program. Interfaith Backpack Project is still seeking donations. The details of all of these programs and more are on our website and our weekly Once Around newsletter. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Now that we are into Pesach, we begin counting the Omer. The Omer is a measure of grain our ancestors brought to the temple in Jerusalem, starting on the second day of Pesach, and we count 7 weeks, and the 50th day, the day after the 7th week is concluded, is Shavuot. We are on a journey from redemption to revelation, from Egypt to Sinai. And so we recite the blessing on each day of the counting of the Omer. It is in the prayer book on, the blessing at least, is in the prayer book on page 278. I'll have to give you the actual wording of the Omer for the day. Page 278. Kabbalistically, you begin with this meditation. Hinini muchan umzuman lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Together our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom Shnei Yamim LaOmer. Today is the second day of the Omer. We continue with Aleinu, page 282. And I invite you to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula liyotzeh bereshit, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoseh haaretz, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת ארצו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אינו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. You may be seated. Page 287. Please read with me. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. Judaism teaches us the sacred duty of memory. On this Shabbat, we remember those whose yahrzeit occurred during the past week. I invite those who are observing yahrzeit for the following to rise as I recite their names: Richard Brown, Irma Friedman, Leonard Strickoff, Jack Weinstein. And I invite all who are observing the first year of mourning to rise at this time. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. We rise as one congregation, united by memory and compassion, to praise God's name. Mourner's Kaddish may be found on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yom echon, uv'chayed achol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu be'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mormav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Let us say together, amen. You may be seated. Following our closing song, we're going to join together in the social hall for Kiddush and Motzi. Those of you watching online will be sad to say goodbye, but I hope you got something to do Kiddush and Motzi over as well. When you go into the social hall, please pick up a cup of wine or grape juice. The red cups are wine, the white cups are grape juice. And also a piece of matzah. Just can't get enough. For our closing song, page 362. לשנה הבאה בירושלים, 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 לשנה הבאה בירושלים. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. So long, everybody online. Good to be with you.